Think of growth as a set of steps, okay? You're going to take that next step. Well, what it requires of you is you've got to keep one foot on the step you're on currently, and then you land the next foot on the next step. And you don't lift up the first step, the first foot, until the next foot is firmly planted. So in terms of business, you've got to keep doing what you're doing.
Welcome, badass entrepreneurs. It's time to hear the world's movers, shakers, and difference makers spill their secrets for unlimited success. So strap in, for Badass Entrepreneurs Only begins now. Greetings, badass entrepreneurs. I am Coach Dan Gordon, and I am thrilled to have on my show today Gary Wilson, the author of the book Global Investor Agent. And the reason I wanted Gary on the show is something he said about his book. And he says, anybody can make money in an up market. The trick is to make money in one that's down. And he wrote a book that will show you not just how to survive, but thrive in both. That's really interesting because most people want to complain. They want to blame the economy. Gary is clearly saying, hey, if you want to be in this business, you got to really understand how to do it. So Gary, welcome to For Badass Entrepreneurs Only.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate the opportunity and I appreciate the kind introduction. I've got to fill some pretty big shoes here.
Well, so one big question, okay?
Sure.
What are you doing right that every other real estate agent, real estate investor is doing wrong?
Yeah, probably the big thing is leveraging what you already have. So generally speaking, if you're a successful real estate agent, you're a successful real estate investor, eventually you're going to get pretty good at what you're doing. It's just it's a numbers game. The more you do it, the better you're going to get.
Right.
The key is, this is what I discovered early on, and I got the idea from banking. I was in banking for 18 years. And banks had a philosophy called larger share of wallet. So what that means, if you walk into a bank, you don't just get a checking account, you get a savings account, a safe deposit box, a CD, an IRA, a credit card, right? They get a larger share of your wallet, all related to one relationship. For real estate, it's so much easier because if, like for me, for example, I have a team of agents and we focus on real estate investors. Well, real estate investors don't just want to flip homes and buy rentals. They've got to have those rentals managed. They've got to have title insurance. They've got to get a loan to buy the property. They've got to have homeowners insurance. They need inspections. They need appraisals. All these services that are very much related, very close together. So what we did early on is I just took the model of banking, and once I had a robust population of people I was serving, I thought, I'm going to add the next thing that they need. They all need title insurance. So I launched a title insurance business. They all need property management. Property management actually was the first thing I launched after brokerage. So I did that, and everybody turns out that property management is what's called a soft industry. That doesn't mean a kind soft. That means it's soft. In other words, it kind of sucks. People don't like to do it. People who do it are generally not good at it. So we launched a property management business. And by the way, I ran my own business, my own properties through my property management business, and I paid like everybody else. I set myself up as a customer, so I would see everything my clients were seeing, all the reporting, all the interaction with maintenance and repairs, collections, all that stuff. Probably one of the smartest things I've ever done, because quite frankly, I needed to still learn the business. I launched it because it was necessary, but I only had my own private personal experience. I didn't have experience running that business, a different set of skills.
First of all, here's what I love about this. So many people get into business. They say, this is my business. I do this one thing and I do it well, and I'm not doing these other things, right? And when I say to that would be like McDonald's saying, hey, we're in the hamburger business. You have to go somewhere else for French fries. You have to go somewhere else for a soft drink. We're just in the hamburger business, right? Mm-hmm. What you're talking about with banking, so true. Once you got people in the door, sell them in bunches like bananas. Have more products to sell to people. Okay, perfect. Now, I know there's somebody listening right now who's already overwhelmed by what you just shared, thinking, look, I'm a real estate agent. I'm not all these other things. It's way too complicated. What would you say to that person?
Well, the reality is when you push yourself, when you raise the bar and you aim higher, you'll always find a way. We're either going to be growing in life or we're going to be going the other way, which is not a great alternative. There's no such thing as being stagnant or I'm comfortable. I'm going to stay just like this. Nonsense. There's going to be things eating away at your empire, like inflation, for example. So and properties get old, they need to be maintained, things like that. So what I recommend is whatever you do offer, make sure it's very closely related to what you're already doing. In other words, when I launched a property management business, I didn't really start from scratch. I already had people helping me manage my own properties. I
Mm-hmm.
had plumbers, electricians. I had a clean out crew. I had a painting crew. I had all these crews. And I had enough clients asking me because I owned a brokerage company already. Hey, can you help me manage my properties? In the beginning, Dan, this is, I can laugh at it now. I would say, no, I don't do, I only do it for myself. Thinking, and finally, I'm like, am I that dumb? So I started saying yes.
Of
So
course.
what's interesting, this is a critical thing to remember. Everybody listen, this is something you want to write down. Think of growth as a set of steps. Okay. And let's say you have the idea because you listen to me talk to you and teach, we call it teaching and preaching. You want to add property management business. Okay. You're going to take that next step. Well, what it requires of you is you've got to keep one foot on the step you're on currently, and then you land the next foot on the next step. And you don't lift
Mm-mm.
up the first step, your first foot, until the next foot is firmly planted. So in terms of business, you've got to keep doing what you're doing. Okay. When you launch a new thing, you've got to get that running. You've got to be the visionary. But the first move you make as far as hiring, I'm assuming you already have like a virtual assistant or admin person, is hire what I call an implementer. You're the visionary. It's called the visionary implementer model.
Yeah.
You had the implementer learn the first business you already have, which is typically your properties, where you're an agent with a real estate license. Train somebody to do that because you already know that, and then you can learn the new
Mm.
thing yourself. And you
Yeah.
rinse, you repeat and rinse. It's a very simplified version of the stair step approach, but it's safe, reliable. I know it's conservative, and it works.
Okay. And I appreciate that because you just mentioned something that's so important, an assistant, right? Nothing great was ever created alone, right? So the person I described a moment ago about, oh, that's way too complicated, right? That's a person who's trying to do it all on their own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's a big fear that people have about hiring someone, right? Like, okay, now I'm in this whole other business, right? I'm a real estate agent. Now I'm managing an employee. That's too much. Okay. How do you get good at that? Like, how do you go from being just this solopreneur person to now to what you said, growing a business, which is important?
Right. Yeah. Well, one key thing to remember, this is a critical lesson in the world of being an entrepreneur. Just when you have a business, you've got to master the skills of two different things. The first
Hmm.
thing is your product or service that you're offering. That gets you in the business. Offering a product or service gets you in the game, right? In order to really grow as a business owner, you've also got to master the skills of managing a business, right?
Yeah.
It's a different set of skills. It's classic Robert Kiyosaki pyramid approach. Your product or service is the tiniest part on the top of the pyramid. Everything below that really is the business itself.
I love it.
Marketing, accounting, right? Bookkeeping, operations, customer support, all that stuff. You've got to build it. Now, in the beginning, I will admit, you're going to be the chief bottle washer, toilet cleaner, and everything else, right?
Yeah.
And as you grow, this is really important. You don't hire the person, you fill the role. Okay. So you got to focus on the role you're looking to fill first, right? And then when you create an ad, you define this avatar. Who's this person that's going to fill that role? What kind of personality do they have? What are their skills? All that kind of stuff. What's their experience? Then you build the ad, you only attract the people most likely to be able to fill that role. So filling the role as opposed to just, I got to hire somebody.
Right.
All you're going to do is add more weight to your workload.
Well said. And look, I've had a lot of clients who are real estate agents. When they all started with me, it was the same thing. They were doing it all on their own. And you're 100% right. Nothing grows unless you bring someone else in to do the work. And what I've learned to do, and I'm guessing you have it as well, is I get good at something and then I can teach it to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, in teaching it to someone else, I get better at it because then I start to understand what my process is of doing that thing. Like classic example, we write ebooks, right? And my goal is to write at least 2 ebooks a month in this year. And so I created a form where I can fill out the information and then they can take that information and put it into my ebook format, right? Now, creating that machine took weeks, right? Hours and hours. But I figured out that method. And so what I hear you saying is you got to figure out that too. It has to be replicatable. Am I right about that?
Absolutely, yeah. And here's the cool part. That's like the first step in growth, right? Not the same as steps like a step approach, but your first next level is what you described there. To really go exponential, you actually have to be able to teach people who can then teach other people. So it's self-replicating. So what happens is your role changes from being the owner, the boss, the CEO, and all that kind of stuff, where you're the guide and you're helping other people become the hero. You're creating CEOs and leaders and bosses. When you get to that level, now you're trading your money for your time as opposed to your time for money. You've reversed the entrepreneur model, which is I'm going to trade my time for all this money. No, you've got to get to where you can trade your money for time, and time becomes your commodity. Time becomes your currency.
Okay? Yeah, right.
And that key is to identify leadership, identify people who are hungry, ambitious. They've got the passion. They want something too. Help them create what they want. Okay. And I promise you, just like Zig Ziglar says, you help enough other people get what they want, you have no problem getting all that you want. And in the world of real estate, if you want to be a big time investor, help other people invest. I know it sounds counterintuitive right now, but just think it through. Help other people invest. By the way, if I could do a quickie here, this is why you do property management. Because if you're managing properties for other people, that means you're in direct contact with a bunch of other people who are also investors. You're helping them make more money on the properties. When it comes time for them to buy or sell, they're going to use you. When it comes time for them to buy a big 100-unit building and need a partner, they're going to come to you. That's really why you do those things, and particularly property management. That's kind of the big picture there. So
I love it. And it's thinking like a business person, not like somebody who's created a job for themselves, which unfortunately I see a lot of people in real estate do. They kill themselves doing all the work that somebody else could be doing. And the next thing I want to ask you about is when you get good at something, how you turn that something into a business, right? So for instance, in my world, we got really good at hiring virtual assistants. So we said, hey, we're so good at this now, we're going to launch a virtual assistant business. And we are niching down. So the business is called LA Realtor Rescue because we're starting with just LA real estate agents. And we are supplying them with virtual assistants because we got good at hiring it for my company, right? So, and I love real estate agents, right? I love the whole real estate business because you guys just work so freaking hard. I love it. So how do you identify the thing that you're good at and turn it into an income stream?
Well, as far as identifying what that is, it's usually something that when you think about it, your energy lifts. In other words, if you look in a mirror, you're sure your face will light up. Your eyes are brighter. You maybe got a smile on your face. So I learned this lesson early too, is I thought about myself, okay, what am I daydreaming about when I'm driving? Okay. What lifts you up? What fulfills you? So what do you daydream about that is fun for you to daydream about? That's probably what you should be pursuing. Okay. And what's really interesting, Dan, is it's actually not that hard to go from you wanting to teach that to others to actually doing it. And one of the lessons I learned from a great coach I had is you don't actually create the thing you're going to sell and then go try to sell it. You said, you go ahead and sell the concept of it, the idea, hey, Dan, would you like for me to teach you how to work with real estate investors? Well, sure, it would. Great. I've got this series of webinars coming up, 10 webinars. You're going to be able to participate in all of them. We're going to record them. You're going to get all the recordings at the end. And the best part of all is we're going to get it all transcribed, documented by an education editor. And more importantly, you're going to have one-on-one access to me all the way through because we're going to guarantee, and the guarantee is a powerful word, legally speaking. We're going to guarantee you are going to succeed using this process. Are you in? Most people are going to say, where do I sign?
Of course.
So you build it with an audience already in place and you make them part of the development. That's one of the critical things is make them part of the development. Then you can go big with your promotions and all that later on.
That's great because what you're talking about and the mistake I see a lot of people make is I have to create the product first. Then once it is perfected, emphasis on the word perfected, then I'll sell it. What you're saying is do the opposite, sell the thing. And that's 100% true. Look, as we're building LA Realtor Rescue, I'm talking to a lot of real estate agents and I'm refining it. You have no idea what people want until you put it out there in the marketplace. You can only guess.
So I
Yeah.
love what you're saying. Sell the
Yeah.
thing as you're selling it, build it. And then you have a product that people want.
Absolutely. Yeah. Never go to market with something untested. Here's something where all entrepreneurs are guilty of, and I am too. I've had more businesses I launched that did not work than I did that did work. And here's the reason why is in my mind, in my heart, this is genius. This is like
Yeah.
pizza or beer. It's like everybody's
Yeah.
going to want it. Then you go out there and it's like, man, that sounds glitchy. Nah, but that's not for me. And they're like, oh my gosh, I just built this whole machine. So it's
Right.
always better to sell the idea and the concept first and ascertain the interest level, help people become heroes again. And then you're not the only one out there pitching your product or service. You got 10 other people pitching your product or service because you help them become the hero.
I love that. And I really appreciate you sharing that, Gary, because
Mm-hmm.
people seem to be pretty reticent to share their failures, right? They just want to talk about their big successes. I mean, I can tell you, just like you, I created this thing called the Master Achievement Program that would help people achieve their goals, like a gamified goal setting. I thought this was brilliant, right?
Yeah.
And I put this whole project together. I created a website. And then I hired a business coach and he said, yeah, does anybody want that? And I'm like, well, of course, everybody would want, like, have you asked? Nobody wanted it, right? Because nobody wants to pay for goal setting because they think they can do it themselves, right? It doesn't matter that 87% of people don't achieve their goals. They think that they will, right?
Yeah.
So it was not a viable product. So I really love what you're saying about the test marketing and, hey, I tried something that didn't work. Most things entrepreneurs try don't work.
Correct.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. There's an old saying, which is learn small, then grow big. So you want to learn all those lessons. Some are good lessons, some are not so good, kind of hard lessons. Learn on a small scale with small numbers of people, small amounts of money. Learn small. Then once you know you've got something, because people are telling other people about it. Hey man, can I bring in my friend? I'm sure he wants to do this too. Now you know you've got something. Then you can start building the marketing machine and go from there.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, before I started working on LA Realtor Rescue, I started talking with realtors. Like, would you like to offload the work that you don't want to do onto other people? They're like, oh, hell yeah, I would. I'm like, okay, now we have something.
Yeah, right. And, there's what I call the 3 silent killers of success, right? Sleep, stress, and productivity. Now, badass entrepreneurs never get enough sleep. We all have way too much stress, and that puts our productivity in the crapper. I found something that beats the silent killers. It's a technology that lives on your phone. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but it's sound waves that put your brain into states of relaxation and focus. Now, when I first heard about this, I just thought it was bullshit, right? But then I heard that this company, they're called NuCalm, NuCalm. NuCalm is being used by the Army, by U.S. Special Forces, the FBI, professional football teams, pilots, surgeons are using NuCalm instead of anesthesia. And what's his name? Tony Robbins just jumped on board with NuCalm, right? So I thought, at the very least, I got to try this. So I downloaded the app, I put it on my phone, and it just sounds like music. But oh my God, after one session, I was on fire. 20 minutes of NuCalm was like 2 cups of coffee. And then on the other side, I use NuCalm at night, and it puts me out like a light. I wake up in the morning, shot out of a cannon. Now, if you want a free week of NuCalm, it's super simple. Just text the word CALM, CALM, to this number, 213-409-8366. 213-409-8366, and text the word CALM, CALM. Get more sleep, feel less stress, and blow your productivity out of the water. Just text CALM, CALM, to this number, 213-409-8366, and get a free week of NuCalm. Free. Okay, so sorry for going off like this. I'm just super fired up about it. Let's get back into this.
So I want to talk about your book, Global Investor Agent, because I think you did something really cool with this where, look, a lot of people want to write a book and they're like, oh, I don't have time to write chapter after chapter. Do I get this right that you had other people contribute to the book?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really passionate, Dan, about my philosophy of me being the guide and helping other people become the hero. And it's because
Mm,
I'd spent years where I was the focal point. It was like my business, it was my team, it was my product, blah, 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 blah. And the old saying, been there, done that. So it's just like a Starbucks coffee. You imagine somebody's been working at Starbucks for a year serving coffee all day. When they go home, do they want to have another cup of coffee? Probably not.
no, no.
So I'm okay where I am in life. I've been on the stage and I've had my fame, and I still do stuff. Believe me, I'm just submitted an article for Success Magazine, so it's not like I'm not doing those things. But
Yeah.
what I'm doing is I'm creating the environment where I help other people become the heroes. So in my book,
Hmm.
I'm sitting there with the idea of writing the book. That was the eighth book. I'm going to write my eighth book. It's going to help you guys. We're going to bring a lot of people in. You're going to add other agents. You can build your own teams underneath this. And while I'm talking about it, I had the idea, wait a second. I need to make them part of it. In order for me to live my message and live the model, I need to make them part of it. So right there, just for the moment, I said, you're all invited to write a chapter in my book. Who's going to take me up on it? 10 people did, 8 people followed through. So I wrote the
Mm,
first part of the book that I had them write their own stories. And this is something I did that was really important. I said, instead of you just trying to teach people a lesson in marketing, guys, I want you to write your story about yourself. How did you get to where you are now? And just give them one example of one thing you did that was like a pivotal moment for you in your business and your life. So they all did it. And every one of them, even the men told me they cried after they wrote that. They didn't
yeah.
realize what the story had. I said, it just goes to show you everybody has got a story. You've got a
Mhm.
lesson you learned in your story of your life that you're called to share with others. It's an inherent obligation, I feel, as a human being to share
Sure.
with others, help others, and teach others. And this is our worst way to do it. So we did that. We just launched the book this past year. We're going to turn on the marketing machine this coming year. And because we already have several thousand sales with doing no marketing. Learn small, then you grow big. Matter of fact, I just got a payment came in this morning from Amazon. How about that? So my ultimate intention was, Dan, was for them to see that they could do it too. And then I want them to write their own book. So this book has me on it with the 8 other folks as the authors. I
Yeah.
want them to write their own book where they're the sole author. They get all the credit and they get the recognition. And so far, 2 of them are starting to work on that project. In the beginning, it will take time because you haven't done it before, but
Hmm.
there is a model to follow. There's a process. Everyone listening here, you have a story, right? You have a story to tell. And I know that there's something in your life that would help other people if they only had you teach it to them. So just think that through. You got to have a servant's heart to like go back to Zig Ziglar.
Yeah.
Just keep helping people, giving and serving. I promise you, the money will come in bigger bucket loads you could ever imagine.
Wow. I really love that. And to think of somebody who is in real estate, a successful real estate investor, you don't immediately think, this is somebody who is out there to serve the world and to help other people. I mean, usually you think fancy cars, big houses, a yacht. But I love your approach and your focus, Gary, because it really is all about helping people. Right. It's like,
Mhm.
hey, you figured out how to get over the wall. So you went back and now you're holding your hand so people can put their foot in it and you can boost them over the wall. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really, the cover of your book shows you standing in front of a lot of people.
Mhm.
And it's such a beautiful thing because it's not you standing in front of a mansion. It's you and standing in front of a lot of other people saying,
Yeah.
here are the people I supported. And really,
Yeah.
everything that you've been talking about since we started really has been about in support of other people, right? Hey,
Yeah.
I want to hire some people, not just to offload my work, but to pay them a living wage, to inspire them, to show them that they can be an entrepreneur as well. They can hire people. You're doing what business people do. You're making processes, right? You're making systems. Business is a system, right? Coca-Cola never says, hey, look, we're making all the Coke we can make. We just can't sell anymore, right? Harley Davidson never says, look, these are all the motorcycles we can produce, right?
Yeah.
Businesses are systems that are exponentially scalable.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to inspiring people, right? And that's what you've done. You said, hey, I want to write this book, but I don't want to write it alone. I want to empower other people to support me in the book and then support them in writing their own book. What do you think it is? Because when you said, hey, X number of people committed to write this book, but only
Yeah.
X number of people followed through, why didn't the people who committed
Yeah.
follow through. What do you think was going on?
Yeah. I tell you, every story is different. Every life is different. Some people unfortunately give in to fear. Like in their mind, they're thinking, my gosh, do I really have time? I don't have time to do this. You know what I'm saying? It just
That's a bunch of
they
bullshit.
question it. Yeah, it leads
Right.
to fear. The second one is I don't know how. I don't know. Well, I'm going to teach you how. But they got that seed planted in their brain. I don't know how, and they can't see their way past that wall. You know, and another one is this is the saddest one is my life isn't exciting at all. Nobody knows who I am. I haven't done anything spectacular. I never play sports and whatever. But I disagree. There's something in their life that happened, either a lesson they learned from a grandparent or when they were babysitting, they helped out a neighbor's child. There's always something. It doesn't have to
Mm,
be a big grandiose story. It
yeah.
just has to be a moment that demonstrates either the resiliency of the human spirit or
Yeah.
some act of kindness that's beyond, above and beyond what would be considered the normal call of duty. So, because
Mm,
those are the three reasons that I've heard from people. They never
yeah.
said, I don't have the money because I paid for the cost of the whole thing. I said that, get it off the table, because that's the first
Right.
thing agents will say.
Yeah.
Agents are going to say, I'm broke. I don't have had a
Yeah.
transaction in a year and I don't have any money. So I said, you're not going to worry about money. Well, I'm going to pay for it, you know? But thankfully, 8 to 10 of them, they got past the fear. Every one of them had fear. I was on the phone, on Zoom calls. I'm trying to talk them off the ledge. That went on for about a year. But at the end, man, you should have seen their faces, Dan. When that thing got published, the sense of
Yeah.
pride that they had, they just like they were reborn again, just
Mm,
refreshed.
I love it. Yeah. And look, you and I, badass entrepreneurs, we fail. And we have failed so often, it doesn't even hit our radar screen anymore. Right. And so,
Yeah.
we forget sometimes that, when we make an offer to someone, hey, put a chapter in the book, you or I would jump on it. Now, there was a time where
Right.
we wouldn't, but we jump on it now. We forget what that feels like. Uh-oh, what if it's not good enough? And so you who are listening right now, you're coming up with stories. Don't call them excuses. They're stories. There is something right now you're saying, I don't have enough time to do it. I don't have enough know-how. And what I want
Yeah.
you to know about those stories is it's all around fear of not being good enough, fear of failing. But if
Yeah.
you do those things, if you take the offer that's presented to you, because it's happening, just like Gary made it happen for the people in his life, there's somebody making it happen in your life. Take the offer. If it
Yeah.
doesn't work out, fine, you will have learned something, but you must deconstruct that ego part of yourself that says, I can't.
Yeah. Oh my
Because,
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah. One of the great lessons, Richard Branson said it perfectly. He
Mm,
was interviewed one time, and the question was, what's the secret of your success? And Richard Branson says, you know what? I always said yes to opportunity, and then I
yeah.
figured out how to do it later. And there's so many stories and examples of that. And I got to meet him, by the way, at a conference. He's an amazing person. When you commit to something with an affirmative, positive yes answer, the universe magically comes to your aid. It's like all the right people line up at the right
Mm,
time and cross your path, saying the right thing, doing the right thing, giving you what you need all at the right time. The only way that's going to happen is if you tell the universe you want to do this. I'm committed. Lord, help me how to figure this out.
mhm. Yeah,
And then the universe comes together and just sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. But your job is to have faith and take action and believe. That's all you got to do. I don't care if you got a first grade education or if you're able to walk, there's something inside of you that's valuable and the world needs to hear it and see it.
I love that, Gary. I say this so often. If you want to grow wings, you have to jump off the cliff first, right?
Yeah.
And then on the way down, you'll figure it out
Yeah.
because you will not grow those wings unless you're properly motivated. And that motivation is, I don't want to go splat. And
Yeah.
I can tell you every time something good has come from my jumping off the cliff. And I'll also tell you that every time I have not wanted to jump. There has
Yeah.
never been a single time where I have felt confident about doing something I don't know how to do. And maybe
Yeah.
you've had that experience too.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, in our family, 5 brothers and sisters, I was second
Cool.
from the youngest. And I'm the only one with blonde hair and blue eyes. When everybody in my family would go right, I would go left. So I was the kid that was building the ramps that you drive your bike over. And this is, of course, back then we didn't have helmets and I rode skateboards over a dope. We made a great tree forts. My poor mother, doctor told her one time, he said, we could write a medical encyclopedia on this kid. He literally got called out of jury duty one time to come to the emergency room because my leg was cut open, all the stuff was hanging
Oh,
out. So I was Mr. Adventure.
uh-huh.
Thankfully now, I don't know if I was going to say mature. Maybe I've grown up a little bit. I don't know if I'm mature yet. I don't put my body through so much damage. But the thing is, putting yourself out there, to tell you guys, there's no more better way to live a thrilling life than to put yourself out. When an opportunity comes your way, like somebody says, hey, we're going to go to Greece next summer. Would you like to join us? You never been to Greece before? Say yes. Say
Yep.
yes. I promise you, you will figure it out. And you will always remember that trip to Greece. Always put yourself out there. That's what my sister says. Gary, you always put yourself out there.
Mm.
And always have.
And do you still feel fear, Gary?
Oh, absolutely. The
Yeah.
difference is, though, is the older I get, the more I live, the more experience I have overcoming obstacles and overcoming fear. So
Yeah.
now it's almost like it's part of my habits. Habits are very important. So I have a habit of, even though I might be afraid of something or an opportunity or whatever's going on, and I believe I've had some pretty big threats in my life too. That faith is what came in. I'm like, you know what? Right here, right now, I'm okay. I'm walking, talking, breathing, thinking, you know what? I'm bigger than this circumstance. And that's what I
Mm.
want to leave with people with here is on this lesson is always remember, no matter what it is you're afraid of, you are bigger than that which you are afraid of. And by the way, your success is on the other side of that fear. It's like a sheet of cellophane. You can touch it slowly and it bends and molds around your finger and you can't break it. You can
Yeah.
see through it, but you just can't break through it. You've got to take both hands and grab that cellophane and rip through it and try to see
Mm.
to the other side. That's where your success is, on the other side of fear.
Beautiful. And
Yep.
so how do people buy your book, Global Investor Agent? Where do we go?
It's on Amazon. You can get a printed copy there, and also you can get it on Kindle. And it's also, but this is crazy. I've written 8 books. This is the first one I got approved to be on Audible. So now it's on Audible. You
Oh,
can get Global
congratulations.
Investors. Yeah. And the guy that did the voiceover,
Yeah.
I think they did a great job picking. He's got a little bit of a sort of a cowboy kind of a point going for
Uh-huh.
it. And people seem to love it because I don't use a lot of big phrases and words. I do get into the meat and potatoes. So you're going to
Mhm.
actually learn stuff. It's not just listen to something that's going to pump you up. We give
Sure.
you the good, the bad, and the ugly. At the end of the day, you're going to win. You know, if you apply the principles, you're
Mm.
going to succeed. We just want to make sure we're prepared that you're going to have challenges, just like anything else in life. We want
Yep.
to prepare you to face those challenges head on. And that's why really another reason why I put in the 8 other people to show that these folks can do it. You can do it too. They're not just listening to me. I'm just one
Mm.
person.
Mhm.
Listen to these other folks and they can do the same thing. But if you could leave a review, we love the reviews. That's what Amazon does to give us more juice is
Mhm.
your review. So we really
Yep.
appreciate that. Yeah.
I love it. So the book is called Global Investor Agent. It's by Gary Wilson. Search for it, do a Google search, go to Amazon, you will find it. Gary, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. I would like you to offer my audience a free chapter of your book. Would you be open to that?
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, there's a couple things we can do. I can give you just a chapter. I can give you the first half of the book, but I can also give you a chapter. So if you're clientele, your tribe, mostly agents in LA, is that
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Okay. There's a book I can give you, an entire book called Real Estate Investor Agent, Make More Money, Not More Work. It is devoted specifically to real estate agents who are trying to figure out how am I going to get more transactions? So we can do that one.
Well, I really appreciate that. So here's how we're going to do that really easily. All you have to do is text Gary's last name, Wilson, Wilson, text Wilson, Wilson, to this number, 213-409-8366, 213-409-8366, and text Wilson, Wilson, to 213-409-8366. And you're going to get this book that Gary just mentioned. I might strong arm him into giving some other stuff there, but it's going to be a lot of tremendous information from a really wise man who's done the work for you. And so you'd be foolish not to take advantage of this. Gary, last thought. What is it that people in real estate need to do that they aren't doing?
All right, I'll give you a big lesson here. So, well, first off, if it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and give everybody the Global Investor Agent, the entire book. They don't have to
Oh,
worry about costs or anything like that. We'll go ahead and do that.
wow.
Because I think it's that important. I want them to learn from the others that help write the book. But back to the lesson, guys. This is really important, particularly right now where we are in the economy and the state of affairs of real estate. Is it doesn't make sense for you to turn on more marketing if you're not producing at the level you should or level you want to. So the key here is make sure every contact you have, every single one. I don't care if it's your mom and your dad, put them on your database. You have to have a database, a contact management system. And on that contact management system, you should have one thing turned on at all times. It's a simple market update. Every system has a monthly market update. It generally interfaces with your MLS, hits the data. It looks at your clients, your address, so they know what data to give them. Goes out every month automatically, and call them. Call your people. Let them know why you're doing what you're doing, why you're doing it. You're not trying to get them to buy or sell anything. Most of them are not going to be buying or selling anything. But the people they know might be looking to buy or sell something, and they're going to think of you because you're giving them a monthly market update every single month and calling the people you do know. You don't have to beg people for business. That's not what you want to do. Do what I just gave you. Later on, you can turn on the paid marketing. Right now, do this because it's free. You already have the contacts, and the people who already know you and love you want to help you succeed. You just got to make sure they understand that you're in a business. You do that by putting on your database, giving a monthly market update. Just do that. I promise you, you'll have more success in 2024.
Oh, beautiful. Wow. That was so well said, man. Really appreciate that. Gary Wilson, to get his book, Global Investor Agent, just go to Amazon or do a Google search. And he's also offered it for free. Just text his name, Wilson, Wilson, to this number, 213-409-8366. 213-409-8366 and text Wilson. Gary, thank you for being on for Badass Entrepreneurs Only. Be well, brother.
Thank you, Dan. You too.
Hey, one last thing. If you're feeling stuck in business life, wherever, download my book, Jumping the Gap, Kill Your Story and Take Action. In this book, you'll see how the stories that you tell yourself are stopping yourself from living your greatest life. Just text the word GAP, G-A-P, to this number, 213-409-8366. 213-409-8366, and text the word GAP. It's a short read, it's fun, it's easy, and if you hate reading like I do, you can grab the audiobook. It's at that same link. Just text the word GAP, G-A-P, to 213-409-8366. You'll love it. All right, that's it. Go out there and be badass today.